This essay is about William Turner's famous painting, The Fighting Timber. Um, I have loved the arts since I was in college. And I've written about this many times about a professor of mine that allowed me, while I was still an undergraduate, to teach subsections for him um, in my senior year in art history, which was a required class at Muskingum College at the time. That was the best thing that ever happened to me in college. And I've always loved the arts. And in the last 2 decades, I have taught various classes in humanities at a couple different universities and have taught many art history classes during those 20 years. If I could teach art history every day, 24/7, I'd do it for the rest of my life because, I love the arts. But of all the paintings, William Turner's The Fighting Timber is my favorite. In fact, I have a copy of Turner's painting, The Fighting Timber, and it is in the wall in my bedroom, right above a statue of Confucius. And Confucius, the statue, started to talk to me several weeks ago, and the painting didn't say anything while the statue and I talked. Waited a week or so, and then started to talk to me. And we talked about my love for the arts, but more particularly about my love for the Fighting Timber. The painting, the painting wanted to know about what was the reason why I was motivated by that painting. And I have always been motivated by that painting, dating back to when I was in college. But now it is even, I love it. I've loved it 30, 40 years. But I couldn't quite explain why it was so important to me. You ask my two grandchildren, Jack and Owen, what their favorite paintings are, they'll tell you. But they'll also tell you that Papa's favorite painting is The Fighting Timber. So the Timber painting wanted to discuss with me why that was so relevant to my life. And I said, I've danced with death twice. I'm 73 years old. I want to outlive George Burns, which means I have 26 some years still to go. But dancing with death wakes you up to the reality that your time is limited. And we got into a discussion about nostalgia and about that's probably one of the reasons that I really love that painting. It brings me back or wants me to go back home again, to a simpler time. The problem with that is you can't go home again. And that puts you in a kind of a dilemma. Either you're going to sit in your corner of your home and pine away about, I wish we could go back to a simpler time, back to the good old days. Exactly what Turner was doing when he painted The Fighting Timber. It was the beginning of the Enlightenment, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And that painting talks about the beautiful past of great sailing ships and the great sailing ship that was the second in line in the Battle of Trafalgar, and Lord Nelson. The Fighting Temeraire was the greatest ship in the British Navy in the time past. And now they were moving into a new time. And he painted that painting because they were taking the greatest ship in British naval history in a barge and took it to a dry dock. And what did they do? They cut it up for kindling. And he was pining away about that. And that was a reason for his painting. And so the painting wanted to get to me about, okay, so you're pining away about the past. And Randy Potts said, you can't control the cards that are dealt to you. You can only control the way you play your hand. So if these are the cards that you hold in your hand, you can't go asking for more cards or different cards. You have to play these cards. And what the painting wanted to get through to me, and what I want to get through to you, is you can't change. You can't go back to a time long ago. You're here. Now, what are you going to do with the life that you have now? So, in a sense, my essay is kind of a backstory to the question that I want to ask you, and I want you to think about. Your time is limited. What are you doing that's important? Think about that. Think about whether what you're doing today is the same thing you'd do today if you knew tomorrow would be your last day. Dance with death once or twice. And living means something radically different than it did to me prior to my 2 dances. I'm more alive today than I ever was because of dancing with death. I don't want to go back to either of those dances. I want to live now. And that's the message of this essay to you. You have a choice. Choose wisely. In the meantime, you take care.